Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel TechDataEngineer. So in this video, I'm going to share my experience related to Tiger Analytics, okay, a data engineering interview which I have recently attended, okay. So I'm going to share my experience, how many rounds are there, okay, what was the experience, total experience they are expecting, and how I got the call, what are the questions they basically asked. Okay, so this profile was basically for data engineering who have experienced more than 5 years in DBT and Snowflakes. Okay, so not exactly because DBT came recently, right? But they are looking as 5 years of experience overall on data engineering. So most of the persons they are using DBT from 1 or 2 years. Snowflake also 2 to 3 years, so that's fine. They can apply on that, but they are looking overall as a data engineering. They should be have experience of 5 years. Okay, so first what I'll talk about the how many rounds are there. Okay, so first would be how many rounds. Okay, so there are basically we have first round which we got called, that is called a screening round. Okay, screening round. So in a screening round also you should be very you can say attentive on that, because they ask actual things, how much experience do you have with the DBT, how much do you have with the SQL, and how much with the Snowflake. Okay, so we should explain. Even they ask few questions also, what you are basically explain the project and all these things. At least they wanted to be assured that you should have the real example, okay, not only the theoretical. So that's why they are asking questions, and based on this feedback only they will go with the first round of interview. Okay, so in a screening round also, when HR call you for this particular position, you should be very attentive also. So after a screening round, once they will find okay this profile is suitable for that role, so there are, I guess, three more rounds we have. Okay, three rounds we have. Three round we have. First round was the L1 technical. First round with the L1 technical. Second round with the L2 technical, and third round would be the managerial or HR round. Okay, so basically there are these three are the important round. So in this video, I'm going to explain the L1, then L2, and managerial also I'll explain. Okay. So, as I already explained, this rule was basically for DBT and Snowflake. So, most of the questions they ask related to DBT, Snowflake, and SQL only. Okay. So, once I joined the first round, so they asked with the introduction. So, introduction specifically they asked, so tell me your years of experience, then what are the tech stack you worked, take a stack. Then tell me what are the technology and tools you have used in last 1 year. Okay, 1 year. Okay, and then questions related to the they ask questions related to the projects also. Okay, so they mostly focus on projects. Okay, project done in last 1 year. Why? Because this that should be your recent project. Okay, and so because you are you are applying for this Snowflake and DBT, so you should basically explain your project which you have worked on that part also. Okay, so DBT and all. So I explained my project architecture. So most of the questions they ask related to that. So what was the questions? What is the data volume you basically handled? Okay, data volume handle, these types of question they can ask. Data volume you handle in your project. Okay, what is the run frequency of your job. Okay, based on this your project they will ask questions related to that. Okay, then they ask me what is your roles and responsibility in your project. Role and responsibility, are you a respond role and responsibility. So then they ask questions related to, are you I can say standalone contributor or team things. So they can ask questions related to that also. And specifically they asked in the entire project whatever you have done. Okay, so I explained all these things, so they ask questions related to that. Okay, so now coming to the questions. So basically what I worked, I'll tell you that also. So I explained my question. So I explained my project basically. So my project have take a stack. My project have take a stack had take a stack SQL, Terraform, DBT, GCP. So GCP basically we are using the BigQuery, we are using the Cloud Composer, we are using the PubSub. We are then we are using the Snowflakes also. Okay, Snowflake. So mostly they ask questions related to SQL, Terraform, DBT, GCP. GCP basically the BigQuery, Cloud Composer, and PubSub. Okay, and how we are orchestrating. So Cloud Composer comes into picture. Okay. So they asked me first questions related to that. What is the DBT architecture? Okay. So here I'm not going to explain all the answers. So in next video I'll see. I'm just only explaining the questions. Okay. So the first question they asked me, what is the DBT architecture? Then second question they asked is the second question they asked. This was the first questions. Apart from the counter questions on project, they asked first question, what is the DBT architecture? Second question asked, what is the DBT project structure? What is the DBT project structure? So project structure they wanted to basically understand in DBT project.yml what are so we have a structure like, right, we have the structure like models, then macros, then we have test scenarios, tests, then we have the seeds, targets. So we have to explain. So basically they wanted me to so they asked me to open the notepad and explain all this architecture, basically GitHub. So I explained it. Then the next question was the third question they asked like, what is the DBT, why we are using the DBT project.yml, why we are using DBT project.yml. Next question that ask, why we are using the profile.yml. Okay, profile.yml. Then next question they ask related to you can say different stagings also. Okay, then the questions are related to snapshot. Why we are using the snapshot in this one? Okay, so I explain about the SCD and snapshot. So they asked questions related to all SCD type also. So they ask questions related to how many types of SCDs are there. So they ask next questions related to types of SCD. Okay, so they ask all type. Okay, we should cover all type. Okay, all type. Okay, so these questions they basically ask, and they ask questions on seeds also. Why we are using seeds? How to how this is beneficial for DBT? Okay, so the questions basically asked on that, and then next question they asked on the materializations. Okay, materializations. So almost I think 30 to 35 minutes they ask questions on the DBT. Okay, so next video what I'll do, I'll explain all the questions, all the interview questions related to DBT, and mostly asking concepts and production scenario also. So I'll explain in next video. Here I'm only going to explain the questions. Okay, so then they ask a different table type also, incremental versus imperial versus other like materialized view or different things. Okay, so they ask questions related to that. Now so they mostly ask the questions on that DBT. Now they move directly to the Snowflake. Okay, so now the second question they targeted the Snowflake. So Snowflake they ask questions related to Snowflake architecture. Okay. The next question was that apart from Snowflow architecture, they asked to explain the RBAC in Snowflake. RBAC in Snowflake. So what is rule-based access control? Okay. So how you protect PII data? Then they ask questions related to how how would you protect PII data? Okay. They ask questions related to that also. What is then they ask what is the data masking, and data masking they could ask questions on time travel also, time travel and fail safe. Okay, fail safe, they ask questions on that also. Then they ask questions what is the difference between OLTP and OLAP. Okay. Then next question they asked fact versus why need to create the fact and dimension table, fact and dimension and star schema. They ask questions to a star schema also. Okay, we should be aware on that. Apart from that, they asked why what is the benefit of using zero copy cloning. Zero copy. So mostly here also basically they asked a lot many questions, and apart from that few questions they ask like how would you design the production ETL pipeline with the help of that. Okay. And a few questions they asked like this was the productions like a pipeline. So a pipeline loaded same data. A pipeline loaded same data twice. Okay. What would you do? Okay. What would you do? Okay. Then they moved again to after 20-25 minutes. Then again moved to the questions related to SQL. So in SQL, they ask only the single query. I think the table was basically we have the one customer table. So this was basically the customer table. Customer table. So customer table we had two things. One was the ID, and other was the name. Then there was a other table. Basically we have the ID, and here it was the order ID. Okay, ID, order ID. So ID and order ID. So what they asked, tell me the, so here they given the different number 1, 2, 3, 4, and some name X, Y, Z, W. Okay. Here they given the 1 and 2. So and some order ID number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what they ask, tell me the customer who did not purchase anything. Okay. So this is very simple, right? What you'll do the joining inner left inner join. Sorry, left after join. Left join you can do, and you can perform like where order ID is null. So you'll get the answer. So this question they ask. Then few question they asked on the lead and lag. Okay, lead and lag, which is basically our window function. So they ask questions related to window function. Okay, so I think consecutive salary between two things, two particular employees. So they ask questions something related to that and lead and lag. And they finally they ask questions related to airflow also. Okay, how you're orchestrating the things in airflow. And then they asked in DBT how you're using, how you're running your DBT in our GCP, because I was using GCP. So they asked questions related to that. So I explained the cron job and DBT also, sorry, GKE also, GKE, how we are creating the pods and all these things. So this was the question basically they asked. So as this was basically on the DBT and Snowflake, so they did not ask questions related to Python, or PySpark, Spark, or any other cloud. Okay, so so they mostly revolved around DBT, Snowflake, and GCP. Okay, GCP, and few questions they ask related to SQL also. Okay, SQL also. Okay, so this was basically the LO round. Our next video, what I'll do, I'll explain all the questions basically they asked related to SQL and Snowflakes and DBT. Okay, thank you. Thanks for watching.